the story that I find the most compelling right now is what's going on with Deebo Samuel. So I'd like to talk a little about it and then get Iggy's input. First of all, I think the Niners are going to extend him. I don't think there's a chance in hell that they're not going to extend him or that he will end up on another team for draft choices. He is really a phenomenal player. And I think it would be insane not to keep him on the roster. So if you actually have the other point of view, we can make a bet right now.
No, we agree on that. We agree. It's good to get that on the table. We totally agree.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Having said that, I object to how he's comported himself. And I'd like to talk a little about it.
Okay.
Generally, when there are money disputes between ownership and a player, I'm on the player's side.
Yes.
Okay. Not in this case. And I'd like to say why. Deebo Samuel initially said he wanted to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. I find that
he didn't say it out of his own mouth, but it was reported by Clarence Hill Jr., who's extremely connected. So that's
okay. Thank you for correcting that, and that's important. Yes. So let's say it's reported, and he didn't say that he didn't say it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So it's been reported he wanted to be the highest paid player. So what immediately that says to me is that for him, this is not about money. This is about ego.
Right.
Because one way or another, I'm sorry?
Validation.
Let's call it ego.
Sure.
The Niners are going to make him a very rich person. Mm-hmm. They're going to make him rich for the rest of his life and probably for generations to come.
Yes.
One way or another, he's going to be so rich we can't even imagine it. Okay? Yes. But that's not good enough. At least when that was reported, that wasn't good enough. He had to be the highest paid non-quarterback, meaning more than money. I want my ego stroked. And I want to tell you something. When I was a young man and became sort of well-known, I would be in San Francisco and my face was on the side of buses and all this. And I was a young, and about your age, Iggy. And I went to my head. And
how could it not?
Right. I did some crazy schmucky things out of ego and pride that I wish I could take back.
Okay.
And what I've learned in my 8th decade now, what I've learned is if you follow your ego, it's a wrong direction and it's going to get you in trouble. There are people in that locker room, I'll tell you right now, who are saying, why, he's not going to make enough money? He has to be the highest paid? What is his deal?
He had to go public with it? That's the other thing.
Had to go public.
I mean, it's one thing to want it. It's another thing to like go public about it and be like, it's April 12th and I'm not paid yet. What the hell? I mean, that's not exactly what he's done, but it's sort of like he's making noises.
Yeah. And what I find it is greedy. I find it greedy. I find it, there's a lot of people after the pandemic, a lot of businesses closed. A lot of people are struggling for money. And this guy's pissed because he won't be the highest paid. Then he said, or someone said for him, 25 million. So now he's already negotiating against himself. He's got an agent. The agent is supposed to be doing this stuff. So here's what I feel about him.
Yes.
He's 26 years old. I checked it out. 26 is very young. When I was 26, I was not a fully formed adult. He is even young for 26. He strikes me, the way he's handling himself, as extremely juvenile. It doesn't take away from his fantastic ability as a player, or I have no idea what kind of teammate he is. I think I would want him on my team, but I think someone should tell him to be quiet a little and let your agent handle this stuff. What do you think, Iggy?
I think you bring up great points. Let me try to complicate the matter. I think it's possible this is his agent's strategy because Kyler Murray's doing the same thing down in Arizona. It seems to be the next strategy. It's like instead of requesting a trade, just kind of do stuff on social media that gets the point across that you can deny. This little tiny thing. So this might be like an agent thing. I have no idea. But what makes this complicated is that, okay, you say Deebo Samuel is greedy and egotistical for wanting to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league. Fine. All these players are greedy and egotistical, Dad. Even the ones you think aren't. Like, for example, Fred Warner, great guy, right? He wanted to be the highest paid middle linebacker in the league last year, and the Niners made it happen for him off of 2 elite seasons. Kittle wanted to be the highest paid tight end in the league. In fact, he wanted wide receiver money and settled for highest paid tight end in the league because, I mean, people said at the time, well, he's doing it for tight ends. He's doing it so other tight ends get paid in the future. He's doing it for himself. It's for his ego.
Right. He's doing it for
Also, the
tight ends.
Niners made Jimmy Garoppolo the highest paid player, not just quarterback, player in the league with a no trade clause, $27 million annually off of 7 starts. So they have this history. Now Deebo comes in and says, look, I'm sorry. This is the going rate for wide receivers. Now, it may not be what you wanted to pay, but this is it. This is the rate. Do you want to have the highest paid wide receiver? Do you want to have a top level wide receiver in the league or not? Because you want to have a top level middle linebacker, a top level left tackle, a top level tight end. This is what it costs. And I'm not really a big fan of the social media stuff that Kyler and Deebo are doing. I think it's childish, as you said. But really, for him to want to be the top paid wide receiver in the league, Jerry Rice would. Every good athlete would want that.
Okay. He didn't say he wanted to be the top paid wide receiver in the league.
Non-quarterback. It's the same thing though right now. It's the same thing right now. But anyway, it's $30 million. It's a lot of, and $70 million guaranteed, Dad. The Niners have never given out more than $48 million guaranteed to win to Jimmy.
You know what I would do if I were the Niners? And again, I'm on the Niners side on this. I'm not on his side. I don't like the way he's acting. I would say, you don't have to do jack for you.
Yeah.
You're under contract.
Yeah.
Shut up. Let us negotiate, or we'll just go along with your contract. And next season, you'll make $3 million.
Whew. Yep. They could definitely do that. They could say, we'll offer you something that we think is fair. Let's call it $22 million a year. If that's not good enough for you and you need 25, 26, 30 to satisfy your ego, play out your rookie deal, buddy, and we'll talk about it next year. And what you run the risk of, the Niners, again, have never done this. They have never held a player hostage for a lame duck year. They traded Buckner instead of doing that, and they've extended all these players early. They've set a precedent. So they would break the precedent because of the way Deebo's acting so publicly. Hey, you want to air out the laundry publicly, then we're going to spite you. Is it worth it?
I think they're going to sign him. I think they're going to sign him, but I certainly would threaten it. I'd hold it over his head. He's made this a hardcore negotiation and he's brought it public. I would hold it over his head. And the other thing, what about the franchise tag?
They could always do that down the line. It's true. They have all the leverage here. And it's like, from their perspective, if you want to make this public and show how unhappy you are, then we can leak public about how we could trade you, or, like we could do all kind of stuff. So this isn't going to get handled until August anyway. So they're probably going to really stick it to deep, make him uncomfortable for the next couple months.
I would.
Yes.
If I were Parag Marathe, I would make him uncomfortable for the next few months. I certainly would.
Is it possible that Parag and the Niners are like, good, he's cracking. Look at him. He's on social media. It's only April and he's getting upset. Like, this has got 2 more months.
I think that probably, you got to remember, Parag has been through this hundreds of times. Right. He has a lot more experience of this than Deebo, who I'm saying is a very young 26. I'm thinking, I'd say he's about 22, really, emotionally. I've never met him, just from what I'm seeing. I think Parag must be giggling a little bit. That's how I feel.
I mean, if you compare what Deebo's, like, Nick Bosa's up for an extension as well. I think most people assume both guys would get it this year. Bosa's not saying anything, doing anything. He's just being quiet, being silent, and not doing anything that the Niners could use against being, I don't know what you would call, like, professional. Is Nick Bosa. I don't know, but it seems like he is doing it the exact opposite way. And he's probably going to get the money, although I would argue that I would rather have Deebo than Nick Bosa long term. That's just me, though.
I understand. I'd rather have both of them long term. They're both terrific.
Yeah.
The idea is to have both of them, and they're both elite players and bring things that are completely unusual to that team. So I would like to have both of them. I find this very interesting. I think the Niners have all the power in the situation with Deebo, and he's flailing around publicly, looking bad, because he knows in this case he's impotent.
Yeah, there's not much players can do. There's really not much they can do. It's just interesting. The Niners have always maintained like they're family. They're really close. They're all about the team. And this is really blowing a hole. And he's their best player. And he's really upset. He's acting a little bit like Terrell Owens, and the Niners don't know how to handle this. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess they do. Maybe they do know how to handle it. It's just a bad look for the organization where they've had multiple bad looks all off season, and we're going to talk about some of
We'll
those
talk
coming
about
up.
that. I think this is a worse look for Deebo than for the organization. That's
That's
how
fair.
I feel.
That's fair.
I
That's fair.
again, usually I'm on the side of the player. Iggy, no matter, let's say he wants 25 million. Let's say he gets only 20 million. Let's say, okay.
Right.
I'm sure he'll get more, but let's say he gets only 20 million for 1 year. I'm supposed to feel sorry for him? I mean, really,
True.
fans, I'm not a fan, but fans say, oh, he's getting screwed. He's only getting 20 million. You know what? Screw me. Give me
Yeah.
20 million. I'd like to get screwed.
Yeah.
There's no way that I have any empathy for him. 20 million is a lot of money.
I mean, it's fair for him to want to get what he's worth, but I think at the same time, it's fair for the Niners to not want to change precedents with how they do these extensions. So, like, just because a player gets upset and impatient, the Niners are going to cave in April and give him whatever he wants. Well, that'll hurt them in the next negotiation. They've made it a precedent that, like, they will take care of their players, and they're probably going to take care of Deebo, to your point, but not on April 12th, not on your terms. You're going to have to sweat it out until the day before training camp. Kittle had to, Warner had to, all of them had to. So I guess that's just what Deebo's going to have to do. Sorry.
Iggy, they play 17 games. I'm not good at math. If he's earning 20 million, how much is that per game?
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money per game, right?
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And but again,
I'd like to have,
I don't have a problem.
Sorry,
you go ahead. You go ahead. You haven't talked in 6 months.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd like to have, I don't want to have one of his games.
Yes.
I'd like a quarter.
Yes.
Could I have the money he's going to earn in any quarter of any game? I'd be very happy. I would. I'd put a hot tub in this house.
I don't mind the ego. Like, I mean, I feel like they all have egos. Didn't Bill Walsh once tell you something about, maybe he didn't, about egos and players, or how
Jimmy LaFever, when he was a coach, that's very good that you remembered it. Jimmy LaFever said, it's very important for the big hitter to have an ego. He was talking about Canseco. He said it's, Canseco has a really big ego, but he has to. He has to go up there and beat a pitcher. And he said, I always cater to a superstar's ego. So that's the other side of the story. Yes.
And it feels like the Niners are trying to take their best player down a peg. I like that Deebo looks at himself as the best non-quarterback in the league. I think he is too. I think he's as good as he thinks he is. So, I mean, if you're going to play hardball in negotiations, why not start there? You can always meet in the middle. What I do think we totally agree on is the social media stuff is totally juvenile, and it might hurt him in the negotiation also.
Yeah, it's juvenile, and it gives him a very bad look. This is business, and he needs to act like a businessman or allow his agent. But I don't know his agent. You're saying his agent may be encouraging him. We don't know. If so, he needs another agent.
It's true, because Kyle, again, a quarterback in Arizona, Kyler Murray, doing the same thing. So is this Deebo emulating him and players going rogue, or agents saying, oh, this is – because look, ever since he did it, at least on my channel, all we do is talk about Deebo Samuel 24/7. So maybe that's what they wanted, as opposed to Jimmy.
What they wanted, but I don't think – I know Parag, and I don't think he's going to be intimidated or influenced by that. I can't speak for Lynch. I don't know him anymore. I never met Kyle, but I know Parag pretty well, and I don't think he'd be intimidated by that.
No, Parag's been doing this like as long as Deebo's been alive.
Yeah.
Rick, thanks for becoming a member. Brian says Lowell is so right on this. Deebo wanting too much too soon. His career doesn't compare to Devontae Adams or Tyreek, and he wants more. See, I'm saying, like, the way that Deebo has conducted himself, he's divided the fan base. A lot of fans are not happy with what he's doing. He didn't get really everyone on his side the way he could have, should have. I don't know. Michael says, I have a hard time with white men telling young black men how much money they should be able to negotiate. And if you don't know him, why call him childish? Oof, Michael.
You know what? I just called him childish, and I'm entitled to my opinion, and you're certainly entitled to your comment. Thank you.
I don't know. I think when you start doing stuff on social media, it is pretty childish. But then again, I'm pretty childish on social media all the time. So I don't know.
I can't help being a white man. I've been a white man my whole life. And I honestly believe I'm entitled to my opinions. And I don't see how this issue is a racial issue.